My name is Victor Granados Pascual. I was born in 8 March 1986 in Paranavaí, Brazil. Paranavaí is a very small town. It has 80,000 inhabitants. So I was born. My mother is Cleide Granados. She was born in Apucarana, in Brazil as well. And my father was Luis Pascual. He was Spanish from a city called Alcañiz, but he grew up in Brazil. So I was born there in Paranavaí, and I spent most of my childhood in my hometown, except for 2 years I spent in Maringá. It's a bigger city nearby. Then I returned to Paranavaí and spent my school years there, primary school, secondary school. When I was 15 years old, I went to Spain. I lived some months in Spain. Then I returned back to do my secondary education. Also in Paranavaí, I completed in 2003 in Colégio Nobel. Then, 2 years later, I began my faculty. I began to college, and also in Paranavaí. I went. My father was Luis Mariano Pascual Lopes. He was born in Spain, in a city called Alcañiz. But when he was very small, newborn, just a few months old, his family moved to Brazil, to my hometown, and he grew up there. He studied there, primary education, secondary education. Then he went to work. My father, by the time I was born, he was working in radio. Like he produced programs to radio and also did commercial. And my father passed away 2 years ago in 2010, unfortunately. In June 2010, he had a heart stroke, and unfortunately he passed away. I have one sister from my mother's side, from her first marriage. Her name is Luciane. She studied computer sciences in university. And now she's married with 2 kids, living in São Paulo, in Brazil. She's working there. And I have 2 brothers from my father's first marriage, Luis Carlos and Jairo. They are Spanish. They are living in Spain. Unfortunately, I don't know them very well. So I never met these brothers. I saw them just 2 or 3 times in my life. So I don't have any memories of them. My sister, she's 14 years older than me, but we had a more closer relationship. But we never lived together because she was much older. When my first memories, she was already living in another town doing college. But I remember that every weekend, she came home and we spent the weekends together. My father, he was a very calm person. He didn't like it to talk very much. He didn't have many friends. He had like a very simple lifestyle, going to work, going home. He didn't like big stuff.
How was his religious life?
My father, no, he grew up as a Catholic, but he was not very practicing. He believed, no, in God, but he didn't went to church. My mother, she was also Catholic, but she also didn't practice very much. Like, only went to church for a wedding or a funeral, just that. No, religion wasn't a subject we talked at home. Never. I don't have any memories of this.
Okay, well, talk us about your childhood.
From I spent 4 years. I studied in a Catholic school, not because my parents wanted me to grow up religious, but because it was a good school. But I was never liked it very much. It was a nun school. I never liked the nuns. I found like the religious class very boring. Like I believed in gods, but some things that they trying to explain, like was very difficult for me to understand. They have the statues of the saints, and I found like that wasn't something right. Like, oh, this is the Saint Mary. Oh, you have to pray for her. No, that didn't make sense to me. Even if I was like 8, 10 years old, I found that very strange. I didn't felt good. No, it didn't seem right to pray to a statue, a piece of wood. I I believe that there was a God, a creator, but I never practiced any religion when I was a child. I wanted to believe something, but I never had any deep opportunity. Very few times we went to church. Usually, in Catholicism, when a person dies, they do a religious ceremony after 7 days and after 40 days. So the only time I went to church was if some relative or family friend died. I went to the celebrations, or for a wedding of some relative or family friend. Like the funeral, the body, or the dead person, stays in a chapel, in like a small church, not a church but a religious building, in the coffin, open, with flowers, and the people, family and friends come to mourn and to say goodbye to the dead person for some hours. Then the coffin is closed and it goes to the cemetery to be buried. And after 7 days they do a religious ceremony, a mass, where the priest says, this is a mass for the memory of this person who passed away 7 days ago. And when it's 40 days, they do again, this is the mass in memory of the person who died 40 days ago. Yeah, in the Catholic religion, when a man become a priest, he receives like certain powers to bless and to forgive the sins of the people if they confess to him. He has the power to make them be clean of the sins. To do a confession, you don't have to use the confessionary. You can do anywhere, like in a room or outside. But usually the tradition is to use the confessionary. It's like a small wardrobe, a small cupboard. The priest go to a door, and the person come to the other side, and they do not see each other. There is like a curtain between them, so he can speak without seeing each other. I was a very shy kid, a very shy children. In school I didn't had many friends, so usually I studied and had few friends. I talked in the class, in the free time of between the classes. I was a good student, a little above average, but I wasn't very good. Just a little above average, my grades. And no, it was. I don't have many memories of my school because it was very. I never gave trouble to the teachers, to the other kids. Nor the other kids troubled me very much. So it was. Sometimes I had some good evaluation, and the teacher, oh no, you are doing well. No, keep doing this, study. Or you have a good future if you study more. But I wasn't because I wasn't the most intelligent guy in class, so the teachers didn't pay much attention to me. They preferred to pay attention or to the more intelligent or to the worst. Because I was in between, they didn't care very much. I studied in my college in Fafipa. It's a local college in my hometown. So after I graduated from high school, I spent 1 year studying to enter in this in some college, and I was approved to go to this college. I went to the history. I was going to study history because it was the subject I more liked in school. I didn't wanted to be a doctor, nor to be a lawyer, nor to be an engineer. Like my family wanted me to do some kind of this, but I didn't like it. I preferred to study something I liked. So I began. The first year was okay, but I began to have some trouble with my teachers. The quality of education, the structure of the college wasn't very good. The library was a chaos. Very few books, without absolutely no organization. The teachers, they came very late to class, and you couldn't have a debate with them because they were very close-minded. All my teachers were Marxists, communists. Only with one or two of them you could have a debate, a dialogue. They were open-minded, but most of them, they weren't. If you told them, no, I don't think this is right, they would say, no, it is, it is. And I began to have trouble, and I began to lose interest in college after the first year. So a couple years later, I decided to drop. I didn't want to finish. Mostly because the only thing I could work after graduating was to be a teacher, a history teacher. And I really didn't want to be a teacher because a teacher's life is very difficult in Brazil. The pay is very small, you have no quality of work. I wanted to do some other things. And also I was having trouble with two teachers especially. And I just thought it would be better for me if I dropped college and did something else. Well, the most people in Brazil is Catholic, but they don't practice a religion. But it's not like everybody. There is no law in Brazil saying that people has to be Catholic. There is no official religion. People can believe or disbelieve in wherever they want. And my teachers, all of them, when they were young, they had because they grew up in a time in Brazil was a military dictatorship, and because they were against the dictatorship, they began to get into these movements that fought the dictatorship, and most of these movements were leftists, Marxists and communists. So they just stuck with this ideology when they went to college, and they only read. No, there wasn't only one man.
Okay.
It was a military dictatorship.
Some commission.
Yeah, like every 4 years, they changed the dictator. It was every 4 years, the military chose another general to be the president. So there wasn't only one dictator, like in Argentina or in Chile. Like in Chile, they had Pinochet. Okay. Brazil, for more than 20 years, from 64 to 86, 88, I think, it was ruled by a military dictatorship. And most people fighting these dictatorships were communists, like they were trained in Cuba and Russia. So they are trying to destroy one dictatorship, a capitalist dictatorship, to make a communist dictatorship. When you think about the Islamic system, the Islamic political, economical and social system, if the people studied it and they implemented the system, instead of going from one extreme to the other extreme, then always going to one extreme to another and never having a balance, they would find, I believe, they would find a very balanced way of life to guide the political and economical and social lives of a society. Because the most advanced society, especially in terms of spiritual life, was the time of the Prophet ﷺ. If we study this time, if we study the time of the first Khilafah, and the lives, the time of the big Islamic governments, the big Islamic empires like Salahuddin Ayyubi, the Ottoman Empire, and people try to implement this in their countries instead of going from one extreme, materialism, capitalism and socialism. I think the world could have a better future. Yeah, after the university, I stayed 1 year without, not 1 year, I stayed a couple months without studying, without job. Then I began to work for my municipal government. There was official job that 2 years ago I had applied, but there were no vacancies. And a few months after I dropped college, I was called. I thought they would never call me to work, but they called me to begin to work. And I was placed to work in the job agency of my city. And so that was my job. I was responsible for basically two functions. To search jobs for other people, and also to apply for their unemployment insurance. So if a person wanted a job, he was unemployed, he would come to me, to the office of the job agency. I would do his paperwork, his abilities, his education, and I would search if there was a vacancy, if there was a job that matched his professional abilities, and try to help him to get this job. And I would also apply for people unemployment insurance. Somebody was fired from his job. I would check the paperwork to see if he had rights to the insurance. So that was my job. I worked there for 1 year and 2 months. When I was 10 years old, was the first time I went to Spain. So because my family side my father was Spanish, and my mom, my father, and they wanted to go to Spain. My father wanted to see his relatives and show his land, show his, from where he came from, to me and to my mom. And I was like, when I saw the old Islamic palaces and mosques, and the people told me about the Islamic past in Spain, I was very interested. I liked it very much. I liked to visit the palaces of the Muslim emperors of Andalusia, and I liked when people told to me about this, and I asked people about this. This was my first contact with Islam. And after this, when I returned back to Brazil, I began to read. After a few years, I kept searching. I liked to read about this, to ask people about this. I asked in school, I asked my history teachers if they know about this, if they could give me a book about this. I wanted to know more about this, about the Muslims. Then when I was 15 years old, I went back to Spain. I was older and more serious. And when I went back and saw again all those monuments, and I searched I wanted to know more about them, about these people. And I began to research more who they were, from where did they come from, where they believed, why they came from so far from the Arabian Peninsula to Spain, what they were doing there, why their rule, why their kingdom in Spain was considered the golden era of Spanish history. I wanted to know why. And I began to study their history, their culture, and of course their religion, Islam. I got a copy of the Quran, and the internet was available at that time. I always researched about it, and the books about history and culture of Islamic people. And when I was 18 years old, I was invited by a Muslim guy from my city to go to the mosque, to talk with the imam. And I immediately accepted this invitation, and the next Friday I went with him to the mosque to speak with the imam and to see. I was very excited. I wanted to because all the knowledge I had about Muslims until then was almost only through books. I had met very few Muslims until then. The Brazilian culture, it's very different from you are used here in Turkey. It's completely different. We the normal Brazilian person places a very big emphasis in having fun, in pleasuring himself. Brazil is known in the world by what? By beaches, by carnival, by music, by football. And of course, Brazil is much more than it, but it is part of Brazilian society. So a normal, a young person in Brazil, like 18, 20 years old, the thing he or she most want is to have fun. Is to go to party, and there's 1,000 different kind of parties in Brazil. And people like to go there and drink and dance and have intimate relations, men and women. And then people, the young people in Brazil, they spend much time and much effort and much money looking into these things. And I was very different. I never liked this kind of things. I never liked parties and drinking. No, it made no sense to me to have fun drinking and losing your mind. Something I never liked. I never wanted to mix with this kind of people. But no, it's normal for the society in Brazil to accept this behavior. And then there was me, 18 years old, in a society that places a lot of emphasis in pleasuring himself, in going to party and drinking and having fun and having girlfriends. I didn't felt I belonged to this kind of society, and I felt alone and empty in this kind of society. I wanted something else. I wanted something that was meaningful, something that completed me. Then I went to the mosque for the first time when I was 18 years old, and began to have conversations with the Imam. It was Sheikh Ahmed Mahiri. He was a Syrian gentleman, and he came every Friday to perform the Salatul Jummah. At that time, in my city, we didn't have imam, a permanent imam. So this gentleman, Sheikh Mahiri, came every Friday to do the Salatul Jummah. And every Friday I began to go too, and having conversations with this gentleman, asking him about Islam, about God, about the Prophet. And I began to see that the Islamic way of life, the emphasis in the ethics and morality and having an upright life, to have good morals, to not to drink, not to waste your time, not to have several girlfriends, to be a productive member of the society, to help other people, and to believe in God, and to have your life following the commands of God, of the one who created you. I wanted this. I wanted to be part of this. I didn't want to have fun. I wanted to have a meaningful life. And I felt I have found it in Islam. So sometime later, I decided that I wanted to live this. I wanted this to be my lifestyle. I wanted this to be my culture. I didn't wanted to be a normal Brazilian guy who wake up in the morning, studied or worked, and in the night went to a party and drink and went back home, or had a girlfriend here, a girlfriend. I wanted to be closer to God. I wanted to, and the thought of having a life like this was very important in my decision to revert it to Islam. Mustafa abi? Mustafa abi?
Yes, brother.
I spoke a little.
Did you finish?
Yeah, I spoke maybe. After I reverted, after I took my Shahada, though I felt very excited. I felt happy. I felt that finally I had found something that completed me. I was no more shy Brazilian teenager. I was a Muslim, and I had responsibilities toward my Creator, and I was very happy. I had finally found what I was looking for since I was younger, a purpose in my life, and it felt, it still feels very, it's very good. The reaction from people around me was like, I think they thought it was just a phase. Oh, he's in a phase. In a few months, it will stop. It wasn't negative reaction, but they were kind of. It didn't surprise them a lot because I was always interested since I was much younger. So it didn't surprise them a lot. Nor it was negative. They didn't get angry. Nobody get angry with me or tried to make me change my mind. They were curious. They wanted to know why. And when time passed, 6 months, 1 year, and they realized that it was really his decision. It isn't a temporary fashion he's following. I think they began to get used to this idea, and they accepted fully. Alhamdulillah, they didn't. No, my friends or family, no one got angry with me. Alhamdulillah, they were accepting. I would like very much if everybody around me became Muslim, if my friends, if my family, but unfortunately, no, they didn't. My mom, nor my grandmother, my family, they didn't felt like me. The necessity to search to God. They were satisfied with their beliefs and their lifestyles. And inshallah, someday, who knows? Who gives guidance is Allah. If someone reverted to Islam, it's by the will of Allah. It's His blessing. It's His hidayah. We can only speak, but only Him can give guidance to people. I try to speak about this with my relatives and some friends, but unfortunately they prefer to keep with their own beliefs, and the same way they accepted me, I try to accept them, but I pray that inshallah they will receive guidance too. My close friends, I tried only to attach myself to people more with a mentality more closer to mine. I never made friends with normal Brazilian people. Like, so my friends weren't the type that went to parties and drank. Most of my friends were people who liked to study. Because the knowledge about Islam isn't very good in Brazil, like people don't know much about it, so they don't know, they are ignorant. Yes, they know because most of my friends were people who studied, they went to college. Most of my friends went to the history college as well. So they knew something. They knew there is the Islamic religion. They believe in the Prophet Muhammad, but they don't know exactly what we preach, what we believe. And sometimes they asked me questions. Oh no, could you explain who is Muhammad? Is he like Jesus? Is he, or no? Could you tell what's the Islamic vision of Jesus, of Buddha, of this and that? And sometimes they were curious to know more, and I was very happy to try to explain them what I knew. One of my friends, one of my closest friends, he even asked me to he's a teacher in a school, and he asked me to look in the school books to see the material about Islamic history, if it's correct, if it's not, and he asked me to give him some advices for when he needed to teach kids about the history of Islamic people. I tried to help him, it was good. From my family, my sister is the one who, she was influenced by the media. Like, she thinks that Islam oppressed women, and I try to say her, no, that's not like that. Alhamdulillah, she came to Turkey a couple months ago for my wedding, and she saw that no, there's no oppression people here. No one's oppressed Muslim women, like my wife wore hijab for choice. No, alhamdulillah, she got away with the prejudices, and now she knows more about that what the media says about Islam is not true at all. In the media, in all Western world, in Brazil, not only in Brazil, but all the Western world, 90% of the time they speak about Islam or Muslims, a Muslim terrorist, Islamic terrorism. It's always associated with terrorism, with violence, with violence against women, with violence against non-Muslims, with violence against Sunni and Shia. So in the West, the Islam is always associated with violence, unfortunately. So most people, unfortunately, they make this association because they don't know, they don't have access to other sources of information. Most of the reporters, they don't know. But I believe that some of the big companies, some of the big news companies, they have an agenda against Islam. And like polemics sells. Wherever you say something polemic, people buy it. So if they are not some of the news companies, they have an agenda against Islam because they have they receive money from people and organization that's connected to people that don't like Islam. And the other side, some people just wanted to sell news, and violence sells. So they exaggerated and don't try to be truthful. Yeah, there is people who are really against Islam and try to use the media against Islam, but
Even in Brazil, the Brazilian people, why they hate Islam? What's the reason?
no, not the Brazilian people. Like in general, Islam in Brazil is unknown. People don't know about Islam.
But you said that there is some media, even there are small media, but they are against all Islam. Why they are against?
Because they have connections with some interest groups that receive money from parties and people who have an agenda against Islam. Why they are like this, I don't know. I don't have this knowledge, but from what I see in the news, like in Brazil, there are some magazines, for example, they always say something bad against Islam. Like there's no necessity to say like this, but they always say. Why? I believe that's because they have an agenda against Islam, because maybe there is some financier, some company, that the owner of this company may be against Islam by some reason, and they pay them to make a reportage against Islam. Yes, my mom came here to Turkey too for my wedding, and she's more open-minded to Islam, but also she's not very interested. She has her lifestyle, her beliefs, and she's satisfied with it. Because sometimes she asks me, some program in the TV saying about Islam, about Muslims, and she called me to explain, is this true, is this not true? So I try to explain to her what we really believe, what we really think. So she has, alhamdulillah, because I can explain to her, she has let's say, she do not believe in what the media say. She has a more right knowledge about Islam. Like, unfortunately, Muslims in Brazil, the ones who want to do something for Islam, they don't have the means, because they are normal people, poor people, or working people. They don't have much time or money to work to spread the knowledge about Islam to people. And the ones who can, the ones who have money, the big Islamic organizations, they don't want. They are satisfied to like, they turn the Islamic associations into cultural associations. So they are not interested, unfortunately, to do a big work to spread the true knowledge about Islam. So there are very rich people who are Muslims in Brazil. There are some organizations in Brazil who make very good money, like with business, Islamic institutions that have business with Islamic countries for like halal food, and they have big money, but unfortunately they don't know nothing. They could perhaps make a TV program. Like in Brazil, we have many evangelicals, Protestant evangelical associations, churches. How they spread? They began small. When they had money, they began to produce small magazines and distribute. When they had more money, they bought a time in television, 1 hour in the late night, 2 o'clock in the morning. And it began to slowly increase. And now the Protestant people are 25% of Brazil. They began less than 1%. Maybe Brazilian Muslims could learn from their history and began to do some work to spread Islam like this. Now, you don't have to begin big. You don't have to create your own TV to spread Islam. You can begin like in the big magazines. Say, okay, can we have one page in our magazine to do a reportage about Islam every month? You go to a TV station and ask, can we buy 1 hour per week, 1 day a week, 1 hour to do a program about Islam? Oh, and we have internet now. Through the internet, it's almost free, and it has a very large reach that you can use. So there are many things we can do, but we need more organization. Unfortunately, the Brazilian community in Islam is not organized. It's very disorganized. So we are very little, with little money and without organization. So it's difficult to do a proper work of dawah. Islam is increased a lot in Brazil. 10 years ago, the census was done in Brazil, and it was discovered there was 20,000 Muslims in Brazil. It's official statistics. And in 2010, 2 years ago, they made another census, and this number increased from 20,000 to 35,000. It's almost twice as much. Why? Because people are reverted to Islam. Brazilian people, they are not Arabic, not Pakistanis, not Turkish, not Brazilian people. They are choosing Islam. Why? Because they are not satisfied with their lifestyles. They are not satisfied with their condition of their lives. No, they want more. They are searching for a meaning in their lives, like me. So, and they don't find it in Brazilian culture, in the other religions. It don't make sense to them. Like to go to a church and pray to the statue of Jesus don't make sense to them. And to go to the parties don't make their life meaningful. But when they discover Islam and they begin to read about Islam, they find something. I believe that's the reason.
What they find in Islam?
They found truth. They found Allah.
Yeah.
They find a purpose in their lives. Because the Islamic life is not only going 1 day a week, you go to the mosque and pray. After you leave the mosque, oh, now I can do. Islam is not just to go to the mosque. Islam is a lifestyle. Is your life dedicated to a higher purpose, to Allah? And I believe people in Brazil want this, because they don't have this. You see, it's very interesting because when you think in the Brazilian society, Brazilian culture, Brazilian people, and Islam, you think that they are completely different. Like our culture, we do not have much value to religiosity. Like we want to have fun, to have pleasure. We don't want someone like we want to be free. We want to do things as we like. And some people think, and Islam has a disciplined life. You have to pray 5 times a day. You have to dress yourself in some way. You can't eat some kind of things. In certain situations, you have teachings how to behave in certain situations. Like you can't just come to any woman and begin to talk and shake their hands. No. And it's something the Brazilian culture, Brazilian society, it's very different. It's very normal to people, like a man and a woman. They are not relatives. they are not boyfriends and girlfriend, they are not wife and husband, but they are just friends, normal friends, people, and they shake hands, they hug, and they like to dress the way they want, and to eat like they like, and to think to pray 5 times a day? No way. Brazilian society, it's very different. But even so, there are many people who are searching Islam, and they are finding pleasure and happiness in having a more disciplined life, in waking up 5 o'clock in the morning to pray, and then to have this discipline in their lives. No, Brazilian people usually they are friendly. No, we like if we don't know somebody, we just met them, we can get along very well. We can get friends just the first time we met. And we like to talk, we like to hear people and making friends. We are open people. We are not like usually people from, for example, Europe, they are not so open like the Brazilian people. They are more close and more distant people. But we usually, of course, we are usually more open and more friendly. And for example, if somebody came to spoke to them and say, "Oh no, hi, how are you?" And "Oh yes, I'm fine. Do you know about Islam?" "Oh no, yes, I hear in the television." And could start a conversation and begin to teach them about Islam and say, "Oh no, I'm Muslim, and oh, this is my religion. Oh, interesting." And it could be an interesting way to do propagation, and people would listen. At least they would listen because we are open-minded. We like to talk. Maybe something like this in Europe wouldn't work very much. I don't know. But in Brazil, some people they do some work like this in Brazil. There's an organization. I hear that sometimes they go to a park, some parks, with a table with small books about Islam, and everybody that come they give a book. "Oh, do you know about Islam? Oh, I'm Muslim. Do you want to know more about Islam?" And it seems to work. People they get interested when they met people like this. Because the Brazilian community, the Brazilian Islamic community is not unified. There are many groups, many differences. So each group, like each mosque, they do like they want. Some they create websites. They translate some books or some articles, and they make websites so people can through the internet. Other people like they go to some park and distribute books and talk. So there is not a unified methodology. It's kind of difficult. There is these difficulties, unfortunately. But usually they use a lot of internet. There are lots of websites. Some mosques, some Muslim associations have their own websites, and some people, some individual, they create their own websites to speak about Islam. And we use internet a lot. I think it's the principal medium we use to spread Islam in Brazil. After I became Muslim, my life had some changes, of course. I had to pray 5 times a day. I had to abstain for some certain kind of foods. But because I was never going to parties and having girlfriends, so my daily life, my lifestyle didn't change very much. Of course, as a Muslim, I had some responsibilities, some religious responsibilities I had to fulfill, like praying and going to the mosque and living to some standards of living. But from other sides, my life didn't change because I never lived like a Brazilian normal boy of my age. So the changes weren't so big in my life. It was easy for me to adapt. Prayer is the key to paradise. The prayer is the key to attain closeness to Allah. So the prayer, the salah, is something very important. So if people knew if Muslims knew the value of prayer, the spiritual benefits of prayer, they would never lose a single prayer in their lives. I feel when I pray, I feel free. I try to let all the world behind me. I try to let all the worries of this world behind and try to focus. And try to focus to have a perfect prayer. Because the prayer, especially the sajda, it's the moment we are more close to Allah. So I try to focus all my feelings and all my thoughts towards the moment, to attain this closeness. The first time I had to fast in Ramadan was difficult because I never had done such thing. It was a little difficult to adapt, but then the second, especially the third time, it was much easier. Now it's a time of the year I want to arrive soon, because now I feel, even don't eating, don't drinking, but I feel stronger. I feel stronger because my spirit gets stronger, and I like it very much. It's not, I don't feel, the hunger don't bother me, the weakness don't bother me, because I receive my strength from other sources when I am fasting. When people ask, when they ask, about Ramadan, you fast? Yes. You don't eat nothing? No, we don't. From the morning to night, we don't eat, we don't drink. Oh, how can you do that? It's so difficult, isn't it? Don't you feel hungry? Oh no, you're crazy. But now I explain to them, it's not. The first days it's maybe difficult, but after 3-4 days you get used to it and you get stronger. The thing I most like in Islam is that you can have a very close relationship with Allah, with your Creator. For example, in Catholicism, you don't have the same closeness. Because you did something bad, you have to go to the priest for him to see. You want to be close to God, you want to pray, you have to go to the mass, the priest has to pray. It's like if you go to God through the priest is between you and him. You can't be so close directly. Of course, the Christian, you can pray directed to God, but you can't be so close, because some things you have to have the priest to do for you. In Islam there is no such thing. You want to pray, you don't need to have a priest between you and God. You want to ask for forgiveness, you don't have to have someone to be between you and Allah to forgive you. Like, that's the beauty. You can, this closeness, it's personal. It's not something cold that you have to have. In my opinion, like, the Christian religion today isn't what Jesus preached. Like, it's very different. Like, there is a part of the Bible, I don't remember from which book, but supposedly Jesus would have said that I didn't come to abolish the law, the divine law. I came to implement the divine law. And you see today that the Christians, they don't follow the divine law of the previous revelations that Jesus came to uphold. Like, they don't have, they eat pork, for example. So it's not the same religion. I believe they should try to search for the original words of Christ. They won't find, because there are different kind of Bibles, different kind of translations. The Protestants have one Bible, the Orthodox have one Bible, the Catholics have one Bible. So they can't reach the real words of Jesus. How they can, if they can't reach the real words, what Jesus really said, how they can say, oh, I am Christian, I follow Jesus? They can't.
What's the difference between, I'm sorry, you are saying something.
No, I'm saying that it's impossible for follow the religion of Christ today, of Jesus today, because it's lost.
Other one.
Yeah, like differences of translations. The Bible, actually, there are several small books inside the Bible. There's the Exodus, the Leviticus, the four Gospels, and there are like some. I don't know very well, but some churches, they have different. I think it's 70 something books inside the Bible. Some churches have more, some churches have less. Some churches believe, oh no, this book from this writer is part of the Bible. Some say no, it's not. So they can't even agree which are the real parts of the Bible. If you go, and you don't have to search the Islamic sources. If you go by the Christians, researchers about the Bible, even today they say that the Gospels weren't written by like, they say that each one of the Gospel has the name of one of the Jesus followers, but it's just the name. Wasn't he who wrote this? And there are many differences about them. Some in the Gospels, some say that's about a part of life of Jesus. One say that he did this, and the other Gospel speaking about the same a part of his life, say something completely different. You can go to any Bible and pick and read for yourself. I don't need to say. You can buy a Bible and look yourself. You find only in the four Gospels you find so much differences. It's unbelievable. I came here to Turkey, to try to learn more about Islam. After I reverted, I always had this desire to learn more, because the access to Islamic education in Brazil is very difficult, and I wanted to learn more and to live among Muslims. So I was blessed to this opportunity to come here, and alhamdulillah, I'm studying and learning Turkish language. I'm learning more about the religion, about learning the Quran, alhamdulillah, and it's very good, and it's a great blessing and a great opportunity that I hope to use this knowledge to help my fellow Muslims in Brazil and to spread Islam in Brazil, inshallah. And I believe the world today, the Islamic world today, I found Turkish people very nice. They are very welcome. Especially when they discover you are a Muslim, they, oh, mashallah, mashallah, please, come to my house, I want to talk with you. They were very, very friendly. And even if they aren't very religious, some Turkish people, they are not very religious, but they like very much when they met them and say, no, I'm Muslim, I choose to be Muslim, I came here to know more about Islam, and they get very happy, and they are very proud of their culture and their history, and it's something I like very much, the attachment that the Turkish people have to their history and culture. It's something we don't have in Brazil. So very few people in Brazil are attached to their history and culture, and it's something I found very beautiful here, and something I respect very much about the Turkish people. And of course, Istanbul, I think it's one of the most beautiful cities I had the opportunity to visit. I enjoy it very much. It's a very nice city. I like Üsküdar. Üsküdar is one of the parts of the city I enjoyed most. And I have very good memories of the Üsküdar area, the mosques around Üsküdar. The first azan in the Fajr I heard was in Üsküdar, so I will always remember this experience forever. Üsküdar has a special place in my heart.
What did you felt when you heard the azan?
I felt in the sky. This is the music in the sky. Allah is blessing me with a very small piece of heaven, being able. It was February, 1st February. And it was snowing, very cold. The street had the snow. And it was like 5 in the morning, and the azan began, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And the other mosque, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And the other mosque, and all the mosques in the area, beginning, one after the other, beginning the azan. Oh, it was, alhamdulillah, it was very good, it's great. Oh, I tried to be very open-minded. I tried to read about it. I knew that Istanbul was a very big city. There are people from all over Turkey here, and there are many foreigners here. So I wasn't expecting to find some place like Mecca, Medina. I was open-minded and tried to be open to what I found here. I believe that the Islamic world today is real chaos. We are very divided between our differences, between Arabics, non-Arabics, Turks, and Pakistanis, and Indians, and all those differences. We are not united. We are divided, and we are fighting among ourselves about everything. We don't have union, and this lack of union, I believe, is one of the greatest problems, both in political side and economical side and the religious side as well. How can Muslims desire to spread Islam in Brazil, for example, if they don't reach an agreement? The all Muslim people, they are living in this situation. There is a hadith that Allah don't change the situation of a people until the people change themselves. So the Muslim people, the individual Muslim, first they have to change himself. He can't expect the other people to be Muslim if he is not an example for them. If he don't pray 5 times a day, if he don't fast in Ramadan, if he don't pay his zakah, if he's not modest, if he don't behave like a Muslim, how can he expect to other people to see the beauty of Islam? The beauty of Islam is the Muslim who practices Islam. So every Muslim in the world, be somebody who grew up as a Muslim or be him a revert like me, they have first to change his situation internally, to change their hearts and their behaviors. And when other people see how real Muslims behave, they will begin to be more interested. Because then Islam will not be something perfect in the books, but when you come from the book to the real world, you see something different. You see the Muslims are not living according to Islam. No, they will see that Muslims live according to Islam. They live according to what they believe. They live according to what they preach. So they will begin to be more interested. It is the biggest dawah for the Muslims, is to practice Islam and allow people to see it. So, there is a famous revert to Islam, Cat Stevens, the musician, and like he said that he was blessed that Allah allowed him to know Islam before he knew the Muslims. And unfortunately, that's a reality. Most of the Muslims today, they don't live as Muslims. They don't practice as they should. When it happens, it will change. The situations of the Muslims, the world will change, inshallah. All the political troubles in the Muslim world we are having today, all the wars and conflicts and the economic crisis, if would stop, and people around the world would begin to see the beauty of Islam. People blame, they blame United States, they blame, for example, for all the troubles of the Muslims. It's not the trouble, it's not the problem. The Muslims, they should strive to stop blaming others and begin to change their own situation. When we change when we change ourselves, inshallah, all these troubles, this political troubles we are seeing in the Muslim countries, the economical problems, the wars, it would stop. So all the media, the defaming of Islam that the media do would stop. Because people would see for themselves that Muslims, they are good people. They help others. Unfortunately, many Muslims today, they don't see the beauty of Islam. They grew up in Islamic countries or in Muslim families, but what they know about Islam is cultural heritage. They don't have this real practice, unfortunately. Islam is the truth, is the real religion, is less revelation, is the only way to God. But unfortunately, many people, even Muslims, don't act upon this truth. And if more Muslims begin to realize this gift they have, to being raised as a Muslims, that we in the West, we that choose Islam, we don't have this. We have to strive to have a little bit of this. And if the Muslims who are more grateful to this blessing they received, they would stop trying to be like Westerners and trying to focus themselves in what's more important, focus in the next life, focus in the hereafter, not in having pleasures in this life. If I could give an advice to you that are listening to this interview, I would ask you to go to a mosque and talk to Imam and read the book, read the Quran and other Islamic books, and talk with knowledgeable people, with hojas, to learn more about Islam, to ask them. Don't be shy to ask questions. Don't be shy to say that you don't know. If you give one step towards Allah, Allah give 10 steps toward you. If you go walking towards Allah, Allah came running towards you. It's a hadith sharif of the Prophet. So that's my advice. Search. Don't be shy, and inshallah, if your intention is true, if you have ikhlas, you will be rewarded by it, inshallah.